Today we are going to race these two amazing vehicles, my Koenigsegg Regera and my Bugatti Chiron SS. We are going to do 1 1/4 mile and 1 1/2 mile and see which one reigns dominant. Now, it's worth noting that the Bugatti Chiron SS holds the world record for top speed at 304.8 miles an hour. It has 16 cylinders of 1,600 horsepower. And this is going up against the hybrid 1,500 horsepower Koenigsegg Regera. This holds its own speed record at 0 to 250 to 0. It was only displaced by the Koenigsegg Jesko, which isn't really available yet in the USA. And guess who is driving the Koenigsegg today? It is that very same guy that set those 2 world records, Mr. Marcus.
Today's video puts 2 absolute legends of the hypercar world against each other. First up is the Bugatti Chiron Supersport. This beast packs an 8-litre quad-turbo V16 engine with somewhere around 1,600 horsepower. And it once shattered the 300-mile-an-hour barrier in testing. Over in the studio across the aisle, the Koenigsegg Regera. The hybrid hypercar brings together a twin-turbo V8 and 3 electric motors, pushing just over 1,500 horsepower without using a conventional gearbox. Instead, it uses Koenigsegg's direct drive system that trades gears for raw torque and immediacy. Who's going to dominate? Well, let's jump into the reviews with the Bugatti first. This is a big one.
Here we go, joining the Autobahn. Blimey. Woof. That was 200 kilometers an hour, like that. Let's open it up again, let's go. Christ, 250. Oi. This is where you're going to need your carbon ceramic brakes, because there's always someone just pulling in front of you in a Skoda not so rapide. Wow! 300 kilometers an hour! Woo! That's 196 miles an hour, almost 200, and it's just the speed at which it gets to that. It's nuts. I want to do over 200 miles an hour. Whoa! Oh! Don't pull out. Don't trust him. It's a Renault Capture. Yeah, you can't trust those kind of Renault Captures, not the kind of speeds we're doing in this thing. Woo! The way it takes off. Wow. Here we go. Just gets to 300 kilometers an hour so effortlessly. It's nuts. Whoa! Whoa, that was a lot of speed there. 208 miles an hour. And he's just pulling. If you come out on the Autobahn late at night, there's no one around, this thing will just smash up to its 273 mile an hour top speed. I can guarantee you that. Oh, it's so good. Gets through its petrol pretty quickly when you're doing that though. You can actually see the gauge move. You know what, while I'm cruising along, I'm going to give you a bit of useful consumer advice about this car. So I have noticed that when you're just cruising along at 150 kilometers an hour, you get a slight whine from the engine ever so slightly. It's not too bad, but you do notice it and you could find it a bit irritating maybe. However, when you're going over that speed, you don't notice it because you're too busy focusing on what's going on. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's get on.
The Chiron never fails to feel like an event when it accelerates. Watching it climb through the numbers like 200, 250, 300 gave me goosebumps. It just builds pace with this overwhelming force that seems effortless. The beauty of Bugatti's approach is stability and control even when you're tearing through speeds most planes take off at. What makes it so impressive is the W16. 16 cylinders, 4 turbos, and the way it delivers power is silky, not spiky. You don't get that sense of the car fighting itself or struggling for traction. traction, and the fact the driver can casually mention a bit of engine whine while sitting at 150 kilometers an hour says everything about how refined it is. There's more speed in it, but they deliberately lock it down. And that makes me curious to see how the Regera reacts, because Koenigsegg goes the opposite route. They want every drop of performance to be as raw and accessible as possible. The contrast between the two is fascinating.
Alright, so here we are. Good God, the torque is obnoxious. It's such an effortless machine, this. You can feel it. Under your right foot, there is a tangible ball of energy. It's unlike anything else, actually. You might have actually just noticed that I went to pull the downshift paddle there, that right paddle. Watch this. That should be illegal. That should be illegal. So the last time I drove a Regera on this circuit, it was wet. It was raining, and it was the depths of winter. And actually, it was a fantastic example of the technical ability of the car, because the traction control was actually from a different planet. The way it managed to keep all of this torque and 1500 brake horsepower from spitting you out into that field was remarkable. The numbers, I just don't know. I just don't know how they do it. Well, I'll tell you how they do it. It's a 5-litre V8 hypercar with 1500 horsepower packed into something that weighs just over 1500 kilograms. So it's that very near to it super magic power to weight ratio of 1:1. It's not maybe quite there, but by God, the physics would suggest it is. I've never known anything like that. What's totally weird, this is the best way of describing how this thing feels. Imagine a Tesla or an EV with a 5-litre V8 in it, because it's got the massive immediacy and huge linear, relentless pull of an EV, but with the ferocity of a heavily turbocharged V8. It's a V8 powered hyper EV, effectively. It's so unique. Now, one of the things that makes it truly special and weird, I guess, in equal measure, is the up and down shift paddles here. Now, they're not for changing gear in the traditional sense, as we explained back in the bunker. This is a direct drive. It's a single gear. It doesn't have a conventional set of cogs. That's daft. You should have a pilot's license for this. That is absolutely ridiculous. The numbers. I've never been down that stretch of tarmac that fast with such little effort. And honestly, as good fun as this track is, it's not home for the Regera. I mean, it needs a runway, really.
The Regera is such a different animal. The direct drive system means you don't get gears, you don't get pauses, it's one long wave of acceleration. Pair that with a twin turbo V8 and 3 electric motors, and you get this sensation of being shoved down the road in one continuous surge. People often describe it as EV-like because of the instant torque, but it still has that violent edge from the V8. The numbers back it up. Around 1,590 kilograms and 1,500 horsepower puts it frighteningly close to a 1:1 power to weight ratio. That's why it feels like physics is being bent around the car. You can sense it's less of a Grand Tourer and more of a purpose-built weapon. The Chiron gives you composure at speed, while the Regera feels like it's best suited to open runways and drag strips where it can pour all that power into the tarmac without compromise. The difference in philosophy is exactly what makes this matchup so exciting.
Round 1, quarter mile. Final round. Half mile.
And there it is. The Bugatti comes out on top in both the quarter mile and the half mile. Watching that play out, it feels like the Chiron's advantage was about consistency. It gets its power down with such confidence that even when another hypercar is throwing everything at it, the Chiron still manages to stretch ahead. The Regera did what it does best: violent acceleration with that electric shove right off the line. You could see how quickly it builds speed, and it absolutely deserves respect for being one of the most unique designs on the planet. But over the distance, the Bugatti shows why it's been the benchmark for so long. It's not dramatic, it's not twitchy, it's composed and devastatingly effective. If you enjoyed this video, why not consider hitting subscribe? Cheers.